Yeah.
So it's spoken language and written language, both of which are absolutely technologies. They're things that we humans made up for ourselves. We don't get them for free. Then you have the scientific method, so I'm agreeing with you there. Basically a way to produce knowledge that's provably correct. And then calorie surplus, so producing more food than you need to eat, which sounds basic, but that allows you to not worry where your next meal is coming from.
Right.
And if you're not worrying about where your next meal is coming from, you can start worrying about more interesting things like, why do stars move across the sky, or what's going on inside my body, and get advances through that. And the last one is a number system that doesn't suck, because we have had some really sucky number systems throughout history, and they've literally held us back.
To the Harbor Grace excursion with the place to have.
Books really saved my life.
Thank you all so much for joining us. It is my distinct pleasure. I am delighted to be sitting here next to the wonderful Ryan North.
We made it happen.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be able to talk to you. I read your book, as I'm sure all of you guys will, How to Invent Everything, a survival guide for the stranded time traveler, and it was fantastic.
Go on.
Yeah, it was really good. No, I enjoyed it. There was so many little fun factoids and tidbits in it. But I want to ask, how does an idea, it's an incredibly complex book to write, just reading through it. There were so many sections that you could jump ahead. It was like a find your own adventure. And I wanted to know, how does somebody make a thing like this?
So step one is to see Back to the Future when you're 6 years old.
Okay.
And then spend the next decade basically just thinking about time travel all the time.
Right.
And something that I kept thinking about is, if I go back in time, what can I change? And I kept realizing I'd be there in, the year 1700 saying, guys, the future's great, we have computers. And they'll say, great, how do you build computers? And I say, I don't know. They're going to be really awesome. And so it was this idea of I didn't want to be a sucky time traveler. And I kept waiting for a book to come out called How to Not Be a Sucky Time Traveler, and it didn't come out. And finally I was like, I guess I have to write it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to make it yourself then.
Yeah. So then it's a lot of research, but it's fun research because you're answering questions that you personally care about. I wasn't even sure that the book was possible because the big idea of the book is let's collapse civilization into 450 some odd pages. And I didn't know you could do that. I wasn't certain you could do that and still have a book that would be worth reading. You would either compress it so much there'd be nothing practical there, or you wouldn't be able to cover enough to make it feel like you actually had what you needed.
It's dense, but it's not. It's dense in the sense that you cover everything, everything, back to the Big Bang and to now. And so it's really well done. For me, what struck me about making something like this as difficult is you have to know about everything. What's your background? What did you actually? Did you study everything at school?
Was that a major in everything with a minor in everything else?
Yeah,
a lot of homework.
The complete set. Yeah.
No, I studied. My undergrad was at Carleton. I did computer science with a minor in film. Very practical.
Cool.
And then at U of T, I did Master's of Science in Computational Linguistics, which is linguistics for computers, basically. Getting computers to speak English. So not directly related to kilns and forges and steam engines.
Okay.
But
you can see there's some overlap.
There's some overlap. But it's also, the fun of writing the book that I was saying is it was stuff that I was curious about. And I feel and this will make all my teachers all through my career happy, because they always said, I'm not here to teach you science, I'm here to teach you how to learn. You're here to learn how to learn. It's whatever, I'm here to learn about science, whatever. But it did. I was I'm going to learn on my own about all this stuff. And it was really fun. I recommend people do it. You can learn outside of school. It's amazing.
Strongly recommend the same.
Yeah.
So, this book has a really fun and cool mix of science, and I think what else struck me about it was that you do a lot of storytelling. It's really funny. There's lots of stories about poop in there.
There's a lot of weird uses of pee in the book.
Yeah, I was surprised by that.
Not me, it's history people that were doing it.
Do you consider yourself more of a
pee person or
Took the
Where are we
words right out of my
going?
mouth, right out of my mouth. Would you consider yourself more of a, because there's lots of science in here, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of storytelling. Would you consider yourself more of a scientist or a storyteller, or maybe you don't have to pick? I mean, how do you
this
feel about
is the first nonfiction I've done. Most of it's been fiction, which I guess is
Right.
storytelling.
Squirrel Girl and-
Squirrel Girl, yeah. But the interesting thing that made this book work, I think, is that it starts out as pure fiction. It's saying,
Yeah.
in the future, this book is from the future, there's time machines, and this is a repair guide to a time machine. And here's how time travel works, and here's what the world it comes from.
Yeah.
And it's all, I made it up. I have to admit,
What? No.
I do not have access to a time machine. And then once you start the book, it says, you can't repair a time machine. If your time machine breaks down, you're trapped.
Yeah.
So here's how you bring the future back to you, and then you get into the nonfiction of all the subjects in the book. But by having this sort of fictional candy coating around it, it let you break, like a subject was really hard or monotonous, you can break it up by doing some time travel jokes. Like it
Yeah.
gave you this way to not be so didactic about things and just have fun with the premise.
Yeah.
Which I think, at least for me, the idea that even though you're reading something about here's how crop rotation works for your farm in the year negative 20,000 BCE,
Yeah.
you're also imagining that you are there in that year with a broken time machine thinking, what do I do now? And like frantically reading this book trying to find the
Yeah.
answer. Like
Yeah.
that's fun. It's terrifying, but it's exciting.
It's fun. Yeah, tear-sighting. Tear-sighting
Yeah,
is how I
tear-sighting.
describe it. Terrifying and exciting.
I'm not sure if there's a lot of books like this. I know my editor was worried that people put it in the fiction section, and it's mostly
Yeah.
nonfiction.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see. The book's only
Okay.
newly out, so we won't know.
So if you were going to travel back in time,
I'm ready.
I'll start with, like, what time period would you be most excited to go back to? When would you want to go to?
Is this a one-way trip, or do I get to come back?
That's a good question. Let's say you can't come back. You're going to stay there, and you're going to make the best of it.
Oh, then it's like 10 years ago.
Yeah, that was pretty good time. Oh man, Facebook was just
I can
starting.
warn everyone. But if I can come back, then you get the more interesting answers. Of you can go back to 150,000 BCE
Right.
and teach these. I guess this is the educational part of the talk, because this is the coolest thing in the book, I think. 20,000 BCE, you get anatomically modern humans, which
Right.
are humans that look like us. And then around 50,000 BCE, you get behaviorally modern humans, which are humans that start creating art and burying their dead and acting like
the
we
things we
tend
do.
to act.
Yeah.
And there's this huge gap of 150,000 years where we don't know what took us so long
Yeah.
to get there. Like, why? What is the delay? And one of the theories that I love is that, because it ties into linguistics, is that what happened is we invented language, and we
Yeah.
started talking to each other. And when you communicate, you invent culture, and you start doing things in a way you didn't do before. And you start realizing that if I can talk to someone else, then they probably think the way I do. You have a theory of mind. Other people are
Right.
just like you, but in different bodies.
Right.
And you get all these cool things out of language. So I feel like if you travel back to 200,000 years ago and taught them how to speak, you're giving every culture on the planet a 150,000 year head start.
That's a big one.
So that's where you can be the most influential person. But
Right.
you'd have to die there because your time machine's broken.
You're right. Yeah, and that's
So-
probably not like 150,000 years ago.
There's
Like-
not a lot of amenities.
Yeah, there's no Facebook. There's no like
Facebook.
I can't Snapchat. Like who's gonna Snapchat?
I mean, you can
that?
Snapchat for probably an hour until your battery dies.
Yeah. Okay.
Got a limited Snapchat window.
So I mean, I obviously I'm not sure how much you know about me, but for Daily Planet, my job is to basically come up with a weird invention every
Yeah.
week and find ways to engage people with it. And so I feel like I think a lot about inventions and what kinds of inventions are important. And I frequently say that science is probably one of the best inventions we ever had. But you say the most important invention that we have had as a species is
Language.
language for sure.
Language. I mean, I kind of give the top 5.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So it's spoken language and written language, both of which are absolutely technologies. They're things that we humans made up for ourselves. We don't get them
Right.
for free. Then you have the scientific method, so I'm agreeing with you there. Basically, a way to produce knowledge that's provably correct. And then calorie surplus, so
Right.
producing more food than you need to eat, which sounds basic, but that allows you to not worry where your next meal is coming from.
Right.
And if you're not worrying about where your next meal is coming from, you can start worrying about more interesting things like why do stars move across the sky, or what's going on inside my body, and
Yeah.
advance it through that. And the last one is a number system that doesn't suck, because we have had some really sucky number systems throughout history, and they've like literally held us back.
Walk us into that. What do you mean by what's a sucky number for people who
Okay.
haven't had the chance to?
Are there any Romans in the audience? I'm going to diss your numerals. So Roman
See one in the
numerals,
back.
yeah, sorry. Roman numerals, it's a number system in which you have to do math before you can actually do math. So the numbers, you have I's and V's.
Right.
So 3
And
I's
L
is 3,
and
IV is 4.
XII.
Yeah, and so to
Yeah.
figure out what number you're dealing with, you first have to say, okay, this is IV, which means 5 minus 1, which means 4. So I've done the math for that one digit. And then doing that for every other digit gets complicated. Plus, you can't tell at a glance how big a number is. Like in a positional number system like we have, if it's got 18 zeros, you say, oh, that's a really large number.
Right.
But with Roman numerals, the size of the number doesn't correspond to its value.
Right.
So it's a mess. Don't put them on your clocks, put them after your name if you must, but you don't need to do calculus with Roman numerals.
Right.
But people tried to do it.
No, yeah, for a long time.
And
yeah.
they didn't invent what they could have because they were struggling with this number system that was just holding them back.
Yeah. Okay. So language, science,
Food, and
food,
numbers.
numbers, and the last
Written
one
language.
was written language. Okay. Cool. All right. So we've got a top 5. One of the things that you made very clear in this book was how ridiculous our species has been in terms of, we have these amazing technologies, and we could invent really, valuable, useful things way sooner than we have. And there are a number of examples of that throughout the book. What's your favorite example?
Yeah, it's kind of depressing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's inspiring too. It's depressing because we have all these instances in history in which we had everything we needed to invent something and then did not invent the thing.
Yeah.
The one I always think of is the compass, where it's such an easy invention. All you need to invent the compass is to have a magnet. And the ancient Greeks were hosting that some rocks stick together around 200 BCE.
Right.
So they had everything they needed. And then 1000 CE, 1200 years later, in China, they're like, oh, compass. Let's invent the compass.
Yeah.
And they don't even use it for navigation. It takes another 100 years. It's first used for fortune telling. And so
Of
you have
course.
so you have this huge, over 1,000 years of time in which we don't have the compass. And compasses are not hard to invent. If you have the little magnet, the rock that's magnetic, all you need to do is tie that rock to a string. So the string lets the rock rotate freely. The rock points towards magnetic north. That's your compass.
Right.
Tying a rock to a string took us over 1,000 years.
Well, we weren't going to waste our time with that. We needed to know what was going to happen in our futures. We needed to see.
Exactly. But I mean, I say it's depressing because it's sad we didn't invent this stuff sooner, but it's kind of inspiring because it means there's room for a time traveler to optimize the timeline.
Right.
One. But two, it also means that probably there's something right now in 2018 that we have everything we need to invent and haven't invented it yet. And that's cool to think of, what are we missing? What's the thing in
Right
500
under our
years to say,
noses.
look at these idiots who didn't know you take a blender and a car and you make a blender car.
Yeah.
I'm not the person to invent that.
I feel like that's going to be pretty useful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Copyright it, patent it if you can. One of my favorite examples of a thing that we have learned, and we could have learned at any time throughout history, and that we did learn was about how to cure scurvy. And why that's my favorite example is that we learned that, I think it was 7 times?
It's so bad.
7 separate times we had to learn how to cure scurvy.
It's so bad. This is a pro tip. Scurvy, it is both treated and cured by citrus. So orange, lemon, whatever you have will work. And humans discovered this and forgot it 7, 8 times. And it would be hilarious if people didn't die every time they forgot what this cure was.
Yeah.
The worst one, or I guess it's not among the worst, is the British discover that, hey, this lime juice cures scurvy. This is great. And then 50 years go by in which they start storing their lime juice in copper containers, which kills the vitamin C.
Right.
They're boiling it, which kills the vitamin C.
Brilliant.
But during this time, people are eating better on shore, and steamships are invented, so they're faster boats.
Right.
And so it obscures the effect of scurvy. You don't get it unless you're not eating fresh food. And so the boats are going faster, people have better nutrition, you're not going to get scurvy during the time the boats are away. So they think their cure is working, but it's not. And then they're like, now to explore Antarctica, which would be a longer trip without fresh food. And they start getting scurvy again. And they're like, well,
what is going on?
so the first thought is, oh, well, we made a mistake 50 years ago. Scurvy is actually not caused by not having enough vitamin C in your lime juice. It's caused by bad morale. So we need to whip these people into shape. And then when we finally learned it and it stuck, it was because we tested on animals. I think it was gerbils. I have to check. It's a small mammal. And it's fantastic chance because that's one of the only other small mammals that can also get scurvy.
Yeah.
Most animals just generate vitamin C on their own. So it's if you want to make humans look impressive, don't talk about how we learned about scurvy and vitamin C, because it's you can just imagine a teacher being like, you got to do better.
It's absurd. It really is absurd.
It's embarrassing.
Well, it makes me wonder, I mean, like you point out that several times in our history we've had these great ideas, we've failed to write them down, we failed to use the invention of written language, and that means that members of that population, if they die out without passing that information on, then that information it's gone, it's lost. And I'm curious to know, like you've thought about this a lot, I'm sure, are there inventions that you feel were at risk of losing today?
I mean, if you consider language to be an invention, then sure, because there's tons of languages that are in danger of going extinct.
Yeah.
And you can say, well, we have the written stuff, but there's the way English is spoken, the way we're speaking, the way it's written down is usually very different.
Yeah.
And you lose the slang and the personality of the language, and all that stuff. Once it's gone, like there's no getting it back. I mean, we're getting better now where you can look at recordings from the 50s, black and white videos of people speaking a language that no one speaks anymore. But it's not the same. So I mean, this is my linguistic bias where I think languages have inherent value and we should hold on to them if we can. But it's easy to say. It's very hard to learn a new language.
Do you feel like that's when we're at like risk of losing? I feel like
we're not going to lose
have
all language.
Like if not everybody has language, then I don't know what these people are doing here. They're not understanding what we're saying. But
I mean, we have maybe lost language before on Easter Island.
Yeah.
It's a terrifying example where Easter Island, that's the one with the giant faces.
Yeah.
Europeans show up and they say, hey, we're here to colonize and steal you for slavery. And they do that. And when they first show up, they have this writing on Easter Island, and they're told that it's only the elites who understand writing. You have to be very fancy to do writing.
Right.
And then they come back 50 years later, and this is a century characterized by European plague and European slaving raids and Europeans being complete jerks to this island. And when they come back, the people there 100 years later, they still have a script, but they're just shapes, they don't mean anything. And we haven't deciphered the script. It's called Rongo Rongo. But if it was language, if it was written language, that was written language that was lost within a couple generations. And the idea of having books and not being able to understand what they say is terrifying, but also it's possible. Like, it's not impossible to lose language.
That's definitely a happen.
So everyone learn to read and write. Thanks.
All right, good. Well,
everyone at the library, learn to read.
You're at a good start. You're at a good start. They got a good start. I want to know, there's a particular invention that you didn't mention in the book, and I know you'll probably have a feeling about it. I want to know how you feel about the invention of patents, of people trying to protect their ideas, and how that's gone throughout history.
So, I mean, it's interesting because a lot of the inventions in the book are, I call them information-based inventions. Once you have the idea, like, it's pretty much invented.
Yeah.
Like numbers, or the idea of like, let's write down writing, you're done. Like, you can make up different shapes, but once you've got the idea, you're pretty much all the way there. And so there are all these inventions where just seeing it in use or hearing it described, you're done, like, you've invented it. And so if you are in a society that involves capitalism, then you need to protect these ideas, and patents are a way to do it. And you can argue that they encourage innovation, and they probably do in certain circumstances. The one I'm most familiar with is software patents, which I would say don't work at all, because they last 20 years, which is longer than most people have had computers. So it's a huge time for this idea to be protected, and they cover such fundamental ideas that the whole system is broken, where large companies just buy up patents for very basic things like having a mouse or double-clicking to open something, and they'll have what's called a patent war chest.
Right.
So Apple has all these patents and Microsoft has all these patents. And it's this Cold War thing where if you're Apple, I won't sue you because you could sue me right back because we're both using mouses and double clicking. And that's not how the patent system is supposed to work. That's just brinkmanship.
So it's like not like mutually assured destruction for each company. Like
but
it's how
for large companies, it also means if you're a small company, then you're at threat from a large company saying, hey, you know, Mr. Startup, I noticed you're using a website. I patented HTTP. Although that's not patented, so that's good. But things like that.
Okay.
So that's a probably complicated and boring answer to a simple question.
Okay. I mean, I bring it up specifically because there was a really, I don't want to give away the whole book. There are a few parts in it that I really love, like the stories from it. Some of the stories in our history are so absurd they're hard to believe.
Yeah.
So like the patents, like the Wright brothers, they get a lot of credit in history for, I don't know if you want to, maybe we'll keep it a secret.
No, we can do it really quick.
Okay,
So
okay.
the Wright brothers, we all know they invented airplanes, right? Basically, they invent this plane, and then they patent it. And they're like, now we own all of airplanes. And
No one could ever fly
no
again.
one could ever
It's
fly.
just
Well,
us.
that was the idea. No one would fly unless they paid me $1.
Yeah.
And so people were like, this is crazy. We're just going to ignore you. And so they kept going through the courts, escalating. They reached a point where they go to air shows and try to arrest the pilots because they're not paying to fly in their planes, even though they don't own the planes. And so this had this huge chilling effect on American aviation, where in other countries like France, where the Wrights couldn't enforce their patent, people were inventing new planes and like really pushing the technology forward. And so the kicker to the story is when America enters World War I and they start using planes the first time, they didn't use American planes because they weren't technologically advanced. They've been held back by this Wright patent. And then the American government said, all right, all you airline companies have to share patents because this is crazy and we want to have cool planes. Stop suing each other.
The Wright brothers are ruining it for everyone.
Yeah, and you could argue that like I forget which of the Wright brothers, but the one who just really loved inventing things, he ended up spending most of his life in court, and he hated it, and he ended up hating his life, and he died of what his family blames on all these stupid lawsuits that he started.
Yeah. So let that be a lesson to all of us then. Share your good
Try
ideas.
to be more chill than the Wright brothers.
Yeah, just take it easy. Take it easy. So there are a couple of kinds of inventions that you also didn't cover in, or actually, you know what? Let's start with some of the ones you did. I think that social inventions are ones that are often overlooked. I mean, I guess language is a good example of a social invention. But you talk a little bit about some of the inventions of philosophy and religion. And so I want to ask you a question about high fives. If you haven't read the book, he explains a lot of different kinds of schools of thought in philosophy and religion using a metaphor of high fives. And so have you gotten any high fives lately? I'll let you explain. I'll let you explain what you mean.
So the idea of a book called How to Invent Everything. It's a book with a title that promises a heck of a lot. And I wanted to include, if you're building a new civilization, you need to have philosophies in there. So what are some philosophies of being and philosophies of religion that you'd like to include? And to dodge the bullet of which religion is correct, I instead had a list of different types of religions, and to make it interesting, they're all described in terms of high fives. So for example, monotheism is God exists, and he gave me a high five. Pantheism, God is everywhere, gave me a high five.
High fives all over.
There's, what's the name for it where you're misanthropic? Oh, there's a term for wherever there's good, there's bad. That idea, there's always an equal and opposite.
Right.
And that's where for every high five that's great, there's a corresponding anti-high five that's down low, slow. Like, I'm really into the idea that you could describe all the philosophies of being in terms of delivering and receiving high fives is something that I did not expect to discover, but I was glad that I did.
It was really interesting. So it's obviously, it's a delicate topic, and I want to walk into the idea of the invention of religion really carefully. I want to speak about I don't think that this is not a time to think about like which religion has it right or which religion has it wrong or whether or not that's true.
Which is the best one?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So look right into the camera and say which is the best religion.
Which is the coolest religion?
But what I do want to explore is the idea of religion as an invention, in terms of its social utility. Does it? What value has religion had for society? Whether or not we can prove it, or whether or not whatever suppositions we want to say.
I do believe that you can absolutely have morality without religion, so you don't need it for that. But I think it's proven, like if you just say, humans should behave in this way, and here's my logical reason why. Historically, humans have responded better to, here's how you should behave, and there's a prize at the end.
Yeah.
So that
Maybe one of those rings with a whistle. Yeah.
So I think it can be a motivating factor for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's dicey because you don't want to say that things are good or bad when there's something people believe so strongly.
Yeah.
But if you are starting to, if you're trapped in the past and trying to build a society, most human societies have some element of religiosity in them.
Yeah.
So it seems something that is something that we do a lot.
Yeah, which might suggest that it has some, at least from an evolutionary perspective, that it like, whether or not those ideas are true, they serve some utility. They might make us
and
better
I mean,
as a
people
society.
enjoy them. Like the people.
Yeah.
If your goal as a civilization is to make people happy, which it should be, you want to. I think the most important resource we have, I say in the book, the most important resource you have in your civilization is human brains.
Yeah.
And your civilization should be nurturing and helping these human brains thrive.
Yeah.
And so anything you can do to keep human brains working well is worth doing, I think.
Which brings me to another really interesting kind of social invention that, for me, I ask this question to my friends a lot, and I'm really curious about it. I'm a guy with a science background, and so art is a really scary idea for me. I don't know. I mean, you also produce comics, and like you work.
And they're definitely art.
Yes, I think we would all agree that collection of 6 pictures was art every time. I really love it.
Thank you.
But like we invented art, and you know, one of the things that we try to use it to do is to help free up our brain power. And I wonder, from your perspective, what value does the invention of art serve the society? How does that help us be better as a species?
I'll answer this question with a story. There was a time in, I guess, first undergrad where I kind of did a lot of bets with myself.
Bets. Okay.
And so one of the bets was, could I go a month without listening to music? And what effects would it have? And so we did, well, the reason for this was my computer crashed and erased all my MP3s. And I was like, that's it, I'm done with music.
Okay.
It's not worth the hassle. And so I said, all right, for the next month, no more music. And it was December, and there was all this Christmas music around. And so I wouldn't listen to it at home. And if I went shopping for Christmas presents, I started reciting the cremation of Sam McGee in my head to drown out the music in the mall, just like over and over and over. And at the end of it, I found, you know, a couple weeks in, I felt more distracted because you're just alone with your thoughts all the time.
Right.
I wouldn't let myself even hum a song in my head. It was just no music. I found myself more irritable. I found myself.
You could have switched up the thing you were saying to yourself in the head. It didn't have to be the same guy the whole time.
Yeah, but I feel like what the arts do is and this is probably very basic to everyone, but it's how we talk about being human to each other and things we can't necessarily express directly.
Right.
Like I look at a pretty picture, I'm like, oh, that's a pretty picture. It makes me feel good. That picture has given me an emotion that I enjoy, and I will keep this for access to that emotion when I want it. And so that's the nerdiest way to describe art. I'm really sorry. But it clearly has value for us, and I feel like I saw someone on Twitter saying everyone who wants to cut funding to the arts, just cut yourself off from music, video games, anything cultural, and see how much you miss it, because you will absolutely realize, oh, this does have value. I do like this stuff. It makes me feel happy.
Yeah. Is Shoop still in the playlist? Like you're listening to?
So Shoop, this book.
There's so many. You guys have to.
There's a part about inventing music.
You have to read it.
And my big idea was I'll have some I'll teach you to read sheet music, and then I'll have the sheet music for like, you know, Pachelbel's Canon and Beethoven's Ninth and all these like big important Western songs. And then I'd have Shoop. It would be like the punchline of this song being one of the 4 that survives time travel. Do
you know Shoop? Do you guys know Shoop?
Salt and Pepper?
Shoop, go. Woo,
I could not, for the life of me, get them to license that song. Because I said, I want to put this in this book, and I don't want the sheet music. And they were like, so it's a textbook? And I said, no, it's a nonfiction, but it's rapid fiction. It's a time travel. And they're like, so textbook? I was like, no, it's not textbook. And then they asked for the context that would be included. and it made it very clear that the context would be this was a punchline. Anyway, they stopped writing back to my emails.
Yeah.
And so there is no sheet music for Shoop in the book, unfortunately.
It's heartbreaking.
It's my one regret.
It's heartbreaking.
But I got the Tetris theme in there instead, because that's technically Russian folk music.
Yeah, it's commons.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of inventions that, so we looked at a lot of inventions from our past. I'm curious about some of the inventions that are coming up for our species, and I assume as an avid time traveler, you've probably been to the future to see how things turn out, and I'm curious about your thoughts about some of, so if we look at an idea like CRISPR, if you're not familiar with CRISPR, it's a technology that theoretically will allow us to start kind of monkeying around with our own DNA, start changing our DNA, and you can make yourself theoretically taller or shorter, or change your eye color or hair color or intelligence or all kinds of things.
There's no moral implications?
None whatsoever.
Super.
None.
Sounds great. What could go wrong?
So, how do you feel about some of those inventions? Are they a good idea for our species, or should we like pump the brakes?
I mean, I feel like and this is probably pretty sad, I can't think of very many examples, if any, in history in which we have invented something and then not used that thing.
Yeah. Yep.
So it tends to be that once we have something, we try to use it at least once and see what happens.
Okay.
So things that have permanent consequences, like testing nuclear weapons on an island to make that island uninhabitable for a long time.
Yeah.
Changing human genome, it's probably hard to put that horseman back in the barn. How's the expression?
Yeah, chimera. Chimera back in the barn.
Can't get the chimera back in the barn. But I think there are some technologies that are coming up that are really, I'm so excited about self-driving cars because I think cars are insane. The fact, I did a dinosaur comic about it where it's the idea of imagine a video game where it's so boring they can literally put you to sleep. But if you fall asleep, you die. And your friends might die too.
Okay.
And like, who would want to play this game? Who would pay money to play this game? But that's what driving is. You're getting around a car that can kill people by accident.
Yeah.
Without even intending to, you can kill people. Mm-hmm. And so putting all the technology we can into making that less deadly and less accidentally murderous, I think is a really good thing.
Yeah.
So yes to self-driving cars, hard maybe to horse people.
Okay. No. All right.
I forget what the third technology. Do you have a third technology?
No, I didn't have a third one.
Okay,
I mean, you jumped the gun a little bit because I did want to ask about the idea of artificial intelligence. We're automating an awful lot. Mm-hmm. Have you seen Terminator?
I have. I saw the documentary Terminator 2.
Okay. Yeah. Is that where we're heading, or it's going to be much more like Wall-E, or it's going to be
robots from the future?
Yeah. Are you like? I mean, I think we would all like to know how it's going to go.
Yeah.
So.
There's this big question in AI of, one, is this ethical?
Yep.
And two, if it's not, can we even control it? Like, if you can make AI, someone's probably going to do it. And the only question is, like, can we control it, or will it be something bad? I think the greatest pumping the brakes on that is that people have predicted, especially in computational linguistics, people have predicting huge breakthroughs in AI since the 50s.
Yeah.
Since we had the idea, like, oh, this is easy. And there's a great thing in the 50s. We're like, okay, so we've got, we'll just invent robots that walk and robots that talk. And we do it without even thinking it's so easy. And it turns out walking is really hard. And we still have robots that fall down the stairs because it seems easy to us because our body does it for us at below the conscious level.
Yeah.
So we don't have to think about it. I'm barely thinking about moving my hands right now. It's just happening. But when you're trying to work it out, it's really hard to figure out how do you stand on two legs without falling over. It's really complicated. How do you open a door without pulling the handle off when you're a robot? It's really hard. And that's just for standing in the world.
Yeah.
Like getting thoughts on top of that is also very hard. So I feel like we're very far off from intelligent machines that can also walk around and open doors. What the Terminator does, no problem.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't worry about that just yet.
He's really good at it. He had Arnold's help. He's
really
really good.
Actually, I don't think he actually opens
no
doors.
spoilers.
He shoots through doors.
Spoilers, there's a lot of door opening in Terminator. It's really good. Great graphics. So do you feel like it's far off, or is it like impossible? Is it a possibility? Can we make robots as smart? I mean, you've got a background in computer science. You've got...
Yeah. I mean, I tend to look at my own life, and when I was my mom could answer, but probably like 10 or 12. I worked out the year I was born, and based off the actuarial tables for people born in that time, at that period, with that gender, how long you're supposed to live.
Sorry, you did this at 10?
I want to know how much time I've got.
Okay, cool. Very forward thinking.
And
even
so I don't remember how many years it was, but I remember the year itself was 2065. That's when I'm supposed to die, if I live the average amount. I could die tomorrow, I could die after that maybe, but 2065 is where if everything is average, that's when my time is.
Okay.
And I don't think by 2065 I'll be fighting killer robots from the future.
Okay.
So it's not really on my horizon.
Okay. Makes me feel a lot better. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably in about that range.
Yeah. So. Okay. So possible, but we got some time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have kids, so if you have kids, you may want to worry about Terminator robots.
Are there some inventions? I mean, because there's lots. I'm going to give that a second. So there are lots of inventions. You've already alluded to nuclear weapons. There are lots of inventions that maybe we would have wanted to have a bit more forethought around and kind of be a bit more thoughtful about. Which ones stand out to you as like ones that maybe, are there any inventions that you think maybe we would have been better off having not done that?
Not done it? I mean, weaponized anthrax.
Okay.
Do you know the story of anthrax?
No.
It's crazy. Oh, sorry, not anthrax, Ebola.
Weaponized Ebola?
What is the disease? Smallpox? Smallpox.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking of. You know the smallpox story?
Nope.
Okay. So this is a huge missed opportunity. Basically, it's the 60s, and scientists are like, you know what, I think we can actually eradicate smallpox because how it spreads. If we could get all the people and isolate them and not let it spread, we could kill this disease. We could actually save Earth from smallpox.
Great.
So it's this huge international effort to do it. And by the late 70s, they're like, we've done it. There hasn't been a naturally occurring outbreak of smallpox in years, except for one where someone found this is gross, a smallpox scab in a book that pressed between the pages, and it infected them.
This is a super fun story.
Yeah, so scientists were at the point where like, we have killed naturally occurring smallpox. All we have to do now is kill the samples in the lab, and the disease is gone. And we didn't do it. And last year, with about $10,000 of off-the-rack science equipment, people managed to turn cowpox into smallpox. So
that's when
the chance to eradicate it is gone. And this is a period, there was discussions like, should we do it? Should we keep some just in case? Basically, the United States and Russia were both like, well, I'm not going to get rid of mine unless you get rid of yours. And how can I tell if you got rid of yours? Everyone knew this could be a weapon, and so they held on to it instead of eradicating it. And that is a point where we could have killed smallpox didn't do it.
Yeah.
And that's like in living memory and so heartbreaking that we had the chance, and now the chance is gone.
Yeah, that's going to be, I think, at least a whoopsie.
It's a whoopsie daisy for sure.
Of the human species. Okay. So that's, one we would avoid. There are a ton of really cool, I learned a tremendous amount about weird things that I didn't think I cared about in this book. But you made me care about it.
No, I was worried. I thought, farming's going to be so boring. I don't care about farming. And I read it, I'm like, oh, this is really interesting.
Yeah.
We think of, I think a lot of people do, I think of plants as being really boring.
Yep.
Because they don't do anything.
I did.
They did. But then when you think of, this is like a thing you plant, and it turns dirt into something else. I grew ghost peppers this summer by accident. And I turned dirt into the hottest pepper in the world, 2007. And I have nothing, I don't know what to do with these peppers.
How did you find out you grew them? Was it like it turns out.
Ghost peppers. No, I bought the ghost pepper for $1. I've been growing them for years, but they never bore fruit.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really thinking this plan through. And now I have these insanely dangerously hot peppers. There's no culinary use for them. They're only used in revenge schemes. And I have 7 of them. I don't know what to do.
Okay.
But that's all from a plant.
Stay on his
I
good
took
side.
regular dirt and made it into the hottest pepper. Now the third hottest pepper. In 2007, the hottest pepper in the world.
Okay.
Just with some water and some time. That's crazy.
All right.
If we didn't have plants, we'd think they're magic.
So that story and everything else in the book makes me wonder one really important thing. I know you live local, and I would be really curious to know what your house is like. Is it just burgeoning with a bunch of Now that you know how to do all this stuff, are you building like windmills and like you've got a kiln and like a forge, blast furnace?
I wish. The only thing I really keep a hold of is books.
Okay.
And so I'm like, I'm not a hoarder. All I hoard are books. But then when you go to move, they're like the heaviest, densest thing. And then like you don't really go back and read the books on your shelves that often. It's a sometimes treat, not every time treat. So it's just something I have. So I have a house full of books, and I guess it makes me look. They're mostly comic books. It makes me look smart, but they're mostly comic books. And then like some nonfiction books. But there's a lot of comics in my house.
Okay.
So come on by. It's great.
Yeah, no, I'd love to. Yeah, I have some ghost peppers. It'll be good.
If you want some, like I'm trying to find a use for these.
I've tried some. It's a really
You tried
alarming.
them?
Yeah, I've tried ghost peppers and Carolina Reapers. I think are the new hottest peppers.
So how was it?
I wouldn't recommend it.
Would you do it twice?
It's a really alarming feeling. Like you swallow it, you learn where your esophagus is, and your esophagus, it's a weird kind of panic that takes you over. It's really frightening.
Huh. Did you record yourself eating the ghost pepper?
I did actually, yeah. And then because I thought it would be really fun and funny, and it turns out that I just made them delete it. It was not. I didn't think I would cry that much. It was really humiliating. Okay, so if there's one takeaway that you want people to have from reading this book, what would it be?
It would be that many of the things around us that we take for granted as being difficult and hard and complicated and not understandable are actually surprisingly simple. And if you are, a time machine makes this easy, but if you have the right knowledge at the right time, you can really change everything that comes afterwards. I found it so empowering to read this book and, to write it and then read it, as I was proofreading it, to have this knowledge and know that now I feel like a more competent person in the world. You can drop me at any time point in history, pardon me, you can drop me at any time point in history and I can be like, well, here's how you make electricity.
Yeah.
And that's power.
That's pretty cool.
You need a time machine to really realize that power.
Yeah.
But I feel so much more prepared for being sent back in time by accident now that 8-year-old me would just be relieved.
All right, well, if you are also interested in putting your mind at ease, should you ever accidentally be hurled back in time and left there, then I highly encourage you to read How to Invent Everything, a Survival Guide for the Stranded Time Traveler. I want to say a thank you to Ryan North.
Thank
We'll
you.
give him a round of applause.